to the public. Mr. Lombardo, you at the podium.
And I appreciate the questions you ask. I appreciate the questions you ask. I didn't know anything about it. I read it in the paper. So the first thing I did was go to the Secretary of State's website to see what this Westerly Drug Abuse Task Force is all about. And they have never registered until today at 1:54 with the Secretary of State. And so I talked to the Attorney General and said, do they need to? And she said, well, 17 other task forces around the state have all registered with the Secretary of State. This was one that didn't. So I started asking questions, and I did speak to Ms. Bourvier. I think I butchered her name, but here's how it works. See, this is your question. The state Division of Behavioral Health Care wrote a grant or requested the money from the federal government. The federal government, I think, gave it to 23 states, considered the worst states for substance abuse. I mean, Rhode Island's pretty bad. She told me the only qualification for Westerly to get the grant money was because we're one of the worst in the state with substance abuse problems. She did say that we weren't going to give it to a town that didn't have a task force set up already. So they wanted a task force. But the fact of whether they did a good job or not, her criteria, according to what she told me, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, the only qualification was they need it here. So I'm all for $700,000 coming into the community. However, just a few things with with this grant money. I'm surprised you don't have what I have. I went around today and got it. It's a lot. I can't digest it all, but it shows you how much money's already been. The money's already been allocated. I mean, the money's going out. They're already spending it, even before. But out of this 700,000, it's about 316 that's been allocated for salaries. That's a large percentage will be going for salaries. So it's not, and that's what they're expecting to spend. And the 3 individuals that did apply, and they're in front of you, have been doing this work. And the way I read it from the notes, and you can look at this too, they kind of came up with these numbers themselves. So before it went out to bid, they were already working. We were paying them for their time, and they were coming up with these numbers. The best I can tell, I could be wrong, but they've been paying out of this fund through those, out of this account already. So that's where you were talking about where'd the money come from, where the salaries came up. They kind of been working on it all along. Plus, and the other problem I have is that, there's only one name I can find in this whole town hall on the door. The town manager just says town manager, solicitor just says town solicitor. They're all generic, except for you. You have the task force right over there, and her name's on the door. That's the only person. So I don't understand what your connection with the task force is, but nobody else has an office in here. I don't know. So I think that's something that you need to figure out is what is your relationship. You do have a fiduciary duty, but you also, I think, have much more since they're in your building. They're working out of your building, and so, what is your liability towards them? And then the last thing that kind of bothers me is that, it's Mary Lou Sarah, and then it's Moretti, who I believe is a sister, and then they've already contracted with their nephew, Stillman, to do the IT work. He's an IT specialist, and I don't know if he's an IT specialist, but you should read these things. You should read the applications, and you should read the qualifications. You owe it to yourself. It's not going to take a long time. I mean, I spent, about an hour on it looking through, and I'm not sure I understand everything. But I think it deserves some time. And I have a problem also, as you do, that, it's a lot of money. $316,000 is going to go out after 5 years, and I think there's people that maybe would have liked to bid on it. But I just see it as an inside job from the beginning, and I think if you follow the paperwork, it's right here. I picked it up today. And I just think that it should have been more open all these years Their minutes should have been published, what they've been doing should have been published. It's not. There's none of that on the Secretary of State's website, which could become a problem down the road.
It is on the Secretary of State's website.
Yeah, 154 today, let's be honest.
yeah.
Okay, but it's never
So
been.
moving forward, all the minutes will be posted. It's going to be compliant.
Yeah, going forward, but that doesn't mean it's been compliant.
Well, the issue is today and moving forward.
All right,
And
well,
and
I'll
that's
talk-
what
I got-
I'm trying to accomplish with the
Right, well,
program.
I'll talk to the Attorney General, Lisa Pinnant tomorrow, and we'll see whether it's been compliant or not. But that's, I'd like to get the 700,000 for the town, I'm all for it, blah, blah, blah. But, all I'm saying is your packet, I think it's great, actually. I want to compliment you on putting all this material up for everybody to click on online and get the packets. But what you got and what I got was just the summary. And if you want the summary, that's fine, but I think you need to look at the details, and you'll see they're all in there. And I'll be happy. I've already scanned it all in. Anybody who wants it, I'll send it over as PDFs. But I think you should think about it. It's a lot of money, and you want to make sure they do a good job, and you want to make sure. I talked to Amy at length today. I have no doubt that she did everything by the book, but I still think it should. It should be re-advertised. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Selico.
Mr. Lombardo, what documents are you referring to?
I don't have them all, but was more
No,
interested.
where did you get them?
I'll email it to you all. I gotta, I can,
Where did you get your copy?
Amy, I had to pay their public record, I made a public record request for it.
Mr. Lombardo has in front of him the current invoices and payments that have been made from the RISEPA program and the few payments that have been made out of the Partnership for Success program thus far.
This is just that one program, and then some more for the other program, but,
Can you provide me with the documentation that you gave to him?
Yes.
May I?
Of course.
Okay.
I'll be happy to, I know it took a lot to do it. I scanned it in, I'll be happy to send it back as a PDF. But it's a lot easier, but I think you should, just to, I'm not gonna go through it with you, but, it takes a little bit of time. There's a lot of handwritten notes, and the money's been going out, and I think the people that got the job kind of set the whole thing up.
Thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, Amy, the RISAPA grant, it's listed here in parentheses 214, 215. Has this been an ongoing grant that we received previously?
We get the grant every year. I do not know when it started.
Okay, but it's a similar amount of money that comes forward?
It's about, this year it's $21,000. I don't know how much it was historically.
So these people that were being paid, is it possible that the people that were receiving money before, for work before we met tonight, were getting it from the RISAPA grant from previous years?
Correct.
Correct? I mean, that's a fair assumption? I don't know if that's factual, but it would seem to me if the grant money has been coming in year after year, then, and it's directed to be spent on substance abuse issues, then I don't see anything untoward about that. I mean, the money's there, it's coming annually, and I assume that it's been dispersed properly in previous years.
To the best of my knowledge.
Thank you. Any other public? Tom? Tom Liguori?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this same matter and bring about a little bit of history. When the program was begun by the state of Rhode Island, the Substance Abuse Prevention Act, one of the elements of that program was that there was the opportunity, programs were all school-based. And one of the act's intentions was to get the program from being school-based to being community-based. And it had two options. You could be a municipal entity, or you could be a private entity designated by the municipality. Believe that if you research the history of the creation of the Westerly Substance Abuse Task Force, and Jack, you might weigh in as a school administrator at the time, and Mario might have had some experience as a police officer. Chief Champlin was the initiator of the program in Westerly, and it seemed to choose being an independent entity, as outlined in the bylaws. So although those are the 86 bylaws that you have, 2006 or 2005, 2006, they were predecessor bylaws. So the task force recruited its own members, had a fluctuating membership, wasn't appointed by the town council. Those are all indices that it was private, but but designated by the town. But at the same time, it never had money that it took the money and spent the money. Instead, the money came to the town, the task force indicated how it was to be spent, and the town wrote the check. So for 27, 28 years, we've had like this hybrid. And it certainly hasn't been unknown that this group exists to town councils. There've been members of the town council as a liaison to it from its inception. Every police chief has been part of the program. There's a dedicated lieutenant as one of the job responsibilities to interface with the substance abuse task force. Now, when we talked about comprehensive plans and we talk about other stuff in town, somebody mentioned today the SUFA, the great volunteer effort. Well, that's how this began. It began as a great volunteer effort with a pittance in terms of money and one particular person who was the bulldog of the program and was designated the program coordinator. And over the years, the no money became a small amount of money until the state grant monies became larger. So I think that a lot of good has come out of the request to just re-examine this thing and get it into appropriate form. If it's going to be a municipal entity, it means it's municipally selected, the number of people is set, there's the appointment committee initially, and the town council then makes the appointments, and the job duties, the responsibilities of the entity are determined. I think, however, that when you're talking about this grant administration, and I understand with this hybrid model and not knowing what really fits where, why Amy and personnel people decided, well, we got to go out for an RFQ. I don't think you did. You have a program coordinator to the program, and she has been getting paid out of a grant and has hours in that office or whatever, way more than the 5 a week that the state regular grant has. But I think it's like any other program with a program coordinator. When you have a grant and there's more responsibility and there's money to implement the grant, the program coordinator does it. And then when it shrinks back, they administer the shrunken back program. You'd lose all continuity to the program if, because it gets a grant, the administration's going to be done by somebody different who's already got the overall responsibility. So I understand what they attempted to do, but I think it all goes away and becomes more regularized. Well, for example, we've had I don't know if it's still a part-time job, but the recreation director. We had a recreation director, we established the position, it's a 20-hour-a-week job. If the guy's able to get a grant that brings in $200,000 more a year into the town for recreational activities, but now you need 20 more hours of oversight, you don't create a new job, and you don't do a new posting, and you don't have an RFQ. You expand the hours while the money's there, and you take them back when the money isn't. You do that in the school department every day. All the time. So I think that's what you have, and I think it's one of those, it grew from a voluntary effort into something more, and good intentions, and we were neither fish nor fowl, and you got to be one or you got to be the other. I think that Solicitor Capalbo's on track, and I don't think it's about even bylaws. I think it goes beyond it. If it's a municipal entity, it's a municipal entity.